Hello, viewers. Today is September 6, 2024. Today, I would like to share my thoughts and opinions. First, about the senseless gun violence that happened in Georgia 2 days ago. And also, I would like to um, share my thoughts on how or why should the presidential candidate address this issue, and would have to come back and give us some clarification on exactly where they stand on some of the gun control reform bills that are languishing in the US Congress for years now. So first, let's go into the um, incident or a horrible tragedy that happened in Georgia. A 14-year-old student came to the school with an assault rifle, and he killed 2 students and 2 teachers before surrendering, and he had injured other people as well before surrendering himself to the authorities. And the first thing when I heard this news was I was wondering how a 14-year-old kid was able to get his hands on an assault rifle. Then I was just thinking about why we are having these kind of series of incidents in school where students are able to get access to these kind of weapons, and they are able to commit these kind of tragedies. Over a period of last 7-8 years, we have seen multiple such instances. So I do not know how they are getting these weapons in their hands, and then why the Congress is not doing anything to pass a meaningful gun reform bill. So talking about a meaningful gun reform bill, I would like to go back in history to the early 1990s during Bill Clinton administration. Dianne Feinstein, the then senator from California, was working on a crime bill, and on that bill, she inserted a provision to actually ban the assault weapons. That ban basically eliminated these kind of assault rifles, semi-automatic weapons, and automatic weapons from the streets, and it was banned. So there was you could not get it on the market, and also the crime also went down because of that bill. But unfortunately, that bill had a sunset provision. It was valid only for a period of 10 years, and then you need to renew that bill every 10 years. So before going into that, I would like to inform you about how many senators voted for it and how did that happen. So that bill was passed with 57 yes votes and 43 no votes. Out of the 43 no votes, 34 of them were Republicans, and yes, 9 Democrats were there voting no for that bill. And also, more importantly, there were 7 patriotic Republican senators who voted for the bill. So first, let's go to the Republicans that voted against the bill. Let's look at some of the names. These are familiar names that you might have already heard on the news multiple times. Former presidential candidate Bob Dole, former presidential candidate in the primary Phil Gramm, former presidential candidate John McCain, then the Senate leader, the current Senate leader Mitch McConnell, Frank Murkowski, Larry Pressler, Strom Thurmond from South Carolina, Jesse Helms from North Carolina, Larry Craig, the infamous senator from Idaho, and then Pete Domenici from New Mexico, even William Cohen from Maine, who became some sort of a moderate afterwards, and Conrad Burns from Montana, Christopher Bond from Missouri, Bob Bennett from Utah, and then you had Slade Gordon from Washington, and then K. Bailey Hutchinson from Texas, Trent Lott from Mississippi, Connie Mack from Florida. So these are some of the prominent Republicans who voted no on that bill. And then there were 9 Democrats that I mentioned. They also voted against the bill. And those were Jeff Bingaman from New Mexico, and both the senators from Louisiana, John Brew and Bennett Johnston, and then Ernst Collins from South Carolina, Howell Halpin from Alabama, Richard Bryan from Nevada, and Jim Cesar from Tennessee, Richard Shelby from Alabama as well. Richard Shelby actually switched to the Republican Party after the midterm elections in 1994. And then finally, this is a very surprising thing for me as well. You might also be surprised that Harry Reid from Nevada voted no on that bill. So who would have thought that Harry Reid would vote no on a assault weapons ban bill? But he did indeed vote no on that. Then let's look at the patriotic Republicans who voted yes on that bill. The names like George Brown from Colorado, John Danforth from Missouri, Nancy Kassebaum from the reddest of the red states, Kansas. She voted no. Richard Lugar from Indiana, Bob Peckwood from Oregon, Jim Roth from Delaware, and then you had Jim Jeffords from Vermont. But Jim Jeffords also moved to become an independent later on during his Senate career. So these 7 Republicans actually bucked their party, went against the party, and voted for this bill. And the reason I'm saying that is I would like to see such a bipartisanship now to pass a similar bill to ban assault weapons from the streets. And also, you need to have some kind of background checks, which is very intensive. And that bill is also languishing in the House and the Senate. So they should also pass that bill. But I was wondering whether in this day and age, in this political climate, which is polarized to an extent that nobody is supporting the other party's bill, I do not know whether that will actually happen. So that leaves us with our only choice in the sense of asking or trying to find information on what the 2 presidential candidates are going to say on the wake of this horrible shooting. From the Democrat side, it looks like Kamala Harris said that if she becomes a president, she would work towards getting that assault weapons ban bill passed. And she is also for very intensive background checks. From the Republican side, till now, I have not seen any kind of a prescriptive policy proposal for gun control reform. So I do not know exactly what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are going to propose in this particular issue. But Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are going to have a debate next week. So I would prefer the moderator of the debate ask these kind of questions regarding these bills that are languishing for quite a long time now, and ask them to state their positions, or at least ask them to come up with an alternate solution so that we don't see this kind of senseless killing, especially in schools next time. So I would, if I were the moderator, I would ask these kind of questions. So let's wait and watch if this comes up during the debate next week. Then I was wondering why both Democrats and Republicans are not sitting together. At this juncture, I think the Democrats are more inclined to pass some kind of a meaningful gun control bill. But every time you open this topic, most of the Republican senators and some from the Deep South, they always come back and say that we have a Second Amendment right, and this will completely dilute the Second Amendment right. So we have to bear arms. So I would like to look at the text of the Second Amendment. So if you look at the Second Amendment, it says a well-regulated militia, being essential to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Let's look at this one by one. A well-regulated militia, this one everyone can understand. This could represent the law enforcement, the police officers. So that's fine. Then it says being essential to the security of a free state, that also we could understand because the law enforcement officers, the police officers are responsible or essential to keep the states and the country safe. So that's also understandable. Then the last sentence is what I have some questions on. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma. So here I have questions on the two words. People, when they were actually sitting together and trying to come up with the Second Amendment, when they are coming up with the text of the Second Amendment, I wasn't too sure that the framers were thinking about when they wrote that word people. I do not know for sure whether they were thinking about the entire population or they were looking at the subset of people that they defined on their first line, a well-regulated militia. So the well-regulated militia, if that is what they represented by adding that word people, which is just a subset of those people. Law enforcement officers can carry arms, obviously. But if it is the universe of the entire population, then that's a different story. So I do not know under what context they fixed that word people. Nevertheless, even if you assume that the entire population is what they had meant, let's look at the other word that I have some questions on, which is arms. So when they were sitting together and trying to discuss something about this Second Amendment, when they inserted the word arms, did they ever know that there will be weapons like these assault rifles and automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons that can fire multiple bullets in seconds? Did they ever envision that when they wrote this Second Amendment? Or even worse, did they ever think of things like a nuclear bomb or a hydrogen bomb during that time? This was passed in December 15, 1791. So I don't think that they would be thinking about these kind of arms that are going to come out in the future. So what I am trying to say here is this particular right is not absolute. It's not unconditional. And so take, for example, a guy sitting in somewhere in Idaho with 10,000 acres. He suddenly says that because of the Second Amendment, I would like to have a nuclear weapon on my basement. Will we allow? Absolutely not. And that's a right decision. We will never allow people to carry an atom bomb on their basement because it's common sense. We say that that's not required. And we were definitely going to make sure that he's not going to have that. So why I'm saying that is this particular Second Amendment right is not absolute. It's not unconditional. And so I think that's how most of these people who say that I'm a strict constructionist and federalist and whatnot, they need to understand this concept, right? Everything comes with some kind of a conditions. It's not an unbounded right. So if the Democratic senators can convince these Republican senators on this kind of logic, maybe they will be able to pass this bill. But more importantly, irrespective of what happens in the Congress, if you as a citizen, if you are for gun control reform, please go ahead and call your congressman or congresswoman or your senators. And nothing works like a public pressure. The only way that these politicians will change their stance is if there is a significant amount of public pressure. So I would encourage all of you, if you believe in gun control, and if you believe in the assault weapon ban bill, please go ahead and make a call to your congressman, woman, or your senators so that they will get the message. That's it from me today. I will come back to you with a different episode tomorrow. Take care.